Hey guys, it's Eric from foundersbeta.com. I'm so excited to have the founder and CEO of Edgecom Energy. So thank you so much for joining, Behdad.
Hey Eric, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we love to hear about your story. I know we've been in touch for some time, but talk to us about what you're working today.
Yeah. So we've been in touch for a while, and I told you just before we started recording, I was telling you, it really feels like even though I've had you on LinkedIn for a long time, I really feel like I know you, right? So it's
Right.
I feel like I'm just having a chat with an old friend. So thanks for
Absolutely.
having me, and I'm excited to get into the questions. So I'm Behdad Bahrami. I'm the founder and CEO of Edgecom Energy, and we are an energy management software company. We're focusing in the clean tech space, and we're helping large energy users manage their energy spend and manage their sustainability efforts using scalable software solutions.
Right on. So talk about the early days. How did this idea even come about?
Yeah. So the early days were a fun and exciting time. It feels like it was decades and decades ago. I mean,
Right.
it was only about four years ago, the early days, but it feels like decades ago. So really the way the company started is before launching, I was actually an energy manager for one of North America's largest plastic manufacturing facilities.
Hmm.
So
Right.
in that position, what I was doing is I was helping this company. So they manufacture a lot of different components for the building sector.
Hmm.
And I was placed in there and I was tasked with helping them optimize their energy and their sustainability efforts.
Right.
So things like changing machinery, changing operations, analyzing data, analyzing bills, installing meters. So there was a lot that was going on there.
Right.
And I could see, so this was back in 2011 that I started there. And I could see there firsthand, there's all this opportunity for sustainability. There's all this opportunity for optimizing what the facility is doing, right? So
Mm,
the
right.
facility at the end of the day, their effort is to manufacture the product and to sell it to their customers at the highest quality that they can,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the management saw that there's an opportunity here to take advantage of all these energy programs and all these changes that were coming about and to make the business greener,
Hmm.
but to also make it
Right.
more sustainable, but then to also have better profits and to really affect the bottom line as well. So they really saw that ability
Hmm.
to affect the business through
Hmm. Right.
sustainability efforts. So when they placed me in there, I could see firsthand, right? There's all these issues. There's metering issues. There's data collection, data gathering, and there was all this talk of data science, machine learning. So I had a lot of friends who, working in a manufacturing facility,
Hmm.
it was pretty rare, right? So a lot of
Right.
my friends who kind of graduated engineering with me, not many of them went into the manufacturing sector. A lot of them went into software
Right.
or they went into startups. So it was pretty rare to be in the manufacturing sector. But at the same
Hmm.
time, I was placed in this manufacturing company. I was talking to my friends who were now working for software companies, and we would have these conversations and they were saying, how come you guys aren't using, the latest machine learning techniques? How come you
Right.
guys aren't using data science? What about metering? Like, what's happening there? Like, why aren't you taking advantage of all these things that are
Mhm.
coming up? So I started searching for solutions, right? And this is, it's one of those things that they say is the best problem to solve is your own problem, right?
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
what Edgecom Energy, that's really where Edgecom Energy came about. Is I kept searching, can someone come and install low cost data acquisition devices in my facility?
Right.
No, the costs were through the roof. Okay, is there an engineering consulting company who will come and set this up, pretty quickly, right? No, it was a 6 month process, right? And whoever was able to do it back then was charging tremendous amounts. And their software platforms and their hardware were all still stuck in the 80s.
Right.
So I really had this idea that someone needs to bring this energy management into the 21st century.
Right.
And
Right.
2017, our CTO Mehdi joined. So he
Hmm.
was wrapping up his PhD at the University of Waterloo.
Hmm.
He was a power systems engineer, but also a data scientist. So a
Okay.
lot of his work in his master's and his PhD was in using data science processes and systems to optimize energy consumption.
Right.
So
Right.
it was a perfect match, right? And when we got together, the first product that we launched was PTrack, which is our price prediction machine learning model. And
Hmm.
that product started gaining traction right away, and it
Right.
was super exciting to kind of develop it. And we started with such a simple MVP at that time.
Right. Right.
Right? We started with basically what we were doing is we were just sending a text message to people, letting them know these are when the price peaks are happening, right?
Wow.
And yeah, we
Right.
had all the machine learning on the back end, but no one could see that. And then now over
Right.
time, we've scaled it into, you know, a full platform and a full system that people can log into and gather all that data and see it more easily. So the early days were a lot of fun and really exciting.
Right.
And yeah, just seeing where we started with that simple, it was just a text message, right?
Right.
And then now where it is, it's kind of, you forget the journey, but
Right.
it was really exciting.
Right. So speaking of the MVP, the first version of the product, what advice do you have for founders like building their MVP? Because I know a lot of times, we get too excited about building so many features, right? So, yeah, what advice do you have in terms of just getting it out there in front of users?
Yeah, so I think, that was one of the keys to our success is we started very light and we
Right.
started very, like, really, when you say MVP, this was the MVP of MVPs, right? It
Right.
was minimum of what we
Right.
could sell to the market, right?
Right.
And
Right.
we started sales. So I myself love sales, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
something that getting solutions in front of a customer is really what excites me, right?
Right. Right.
And I actually tell the team here, like, anytime that I haven't talked to customers in a while, I
Mhm.
started getting nervous. I start getting I don't like it, right? So I love talking to customers, and
Right.
that's one of the first things we did, right? So we said,
Right.
what is the minimum thing that we can put in front of a customer
Mhm.
that they would be willing to pay for? And
Right.
it's interesting because the first customer that we ever had, he's still with us.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting in that meeting with him, and the back end of the system was semi ready, but there was no front end, right? There
Right.
was no front end. And
Wow.
we sat in front of him and he said, okay, well, show me a demo. That
Right.
I can't. There's it's a text message. How can I
Right.
show you a demo? Right?
Exactly. Right.
But because we understood his problem so well, and because
Right.
it was so niche and it was hitting his pain point right on the head. I mean, it was
Right.
so specific to exactly what this person needed and the problem that this person needed to solve, that just that text message was enough to get his interest and to get him to
Right.
actually sign up with us, right?
Wow.
So my advice to founders would be, start when you're saying minimal, really keep that in mind, is that
Right.
don't think about what is the minimum product I need to have, but
Right.
what is the minimum thing that I can put in front of this customer that will
Mhm.
actually start to chip away at his problem, right? And
Right.
that's how we approached it. And I think that was one of the keys to our success, is that every year we evolved with our customers. And that's where it led us to the point that we're at now.
Right. Right on. So, so talk about getting in front of customers. Like you had the MVP. What was it like trying to get them on board? Like, any tips for founders in terms of just getting out there, or you just got the product and just went out the building?
No, I wish it was that easy. I mean, the first thing is, obviously the early team is probably one of the most important parts of
Right.
any startup, right?
Right.
So luckily, the first year I was selling myself, right? I mean, we were
Right.
truly a bootstrapped startup, right? There,
Right.
there
Right.
was no there was no funding. It was just, we
Right.
had the product and I was going out to market and I was selling it. Luckily, I had that background of being that energy manager. So again, I was sitting in their shoes for the past 5 or 6 years. So I understood how to approach the problem
Right.
and how to
Right. Right.
communicate it in a way that they would understand. So I
Mhm.
think that's the most important thing, whether you can literally be in the customer's shoes. So, shadow them, talk to them, spend more time with them, go in their office, right? Now it's a little bit more difficult,
Right.
with everyone being remote, but
Right.
really try to get into their mindset and understand how they live their lives and how they approach
Right.
these problems, right?
Right.
Because if you approach it from the way that you see things, maybe you go with a complicated solution right off the bat,
Right.
that's not going to resonate with these customers, right? So
Right.
really, that's one of the pieces of advice I would give is
Mhm.
get in the customer's shoes. When
Right.
it comes to how we started sales, we had that minimal product. I went out to market. I was having that conversation,
Mhm.
and it was a lot of effort and a lot of conversation. It was way more than I ever would have imagined. I mean, we probably had
Exactly.
60, 70 meetings for each one that we'd be able to sell to.
Wow.
right? So those ratios, it was a lot of effort, but the beauty is that every single meeting taught us something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
every single customer who wasn't willing to sign up with us
Mm-hmm.
actually gave us a tidbit of information. Hey, if you guys added this to your platform,
Mm-hmm.
then I'd buy. If you
Right.
guys did that, I would buy. Hey, have you guys considered, this kind of chart? Have you guys
Mm-hmm.
considered this kind of text message? So
Right.
all those little tidbits of information, we were very diligent in keeping track of all that data that we were gathering from potential and existing customers,
Mm-hmm.
and kept iterating and kept building that back into the product, where then after we started doing that, the success just almost 80% of meetings would then turn into signed deals, right?
Wow.
After about a year and a half, right?
Right.
So that was really, really interesting. The other part of it, I mentioned the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
We brought Colin, our VP of sales, in. He was one of the first employees, so I think he was the third employee that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
he really had the right mindset, and he was the right cultural fit for that customer empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we were, oh, sorry, there's a fruit fly here. Sorry
Yeah,
about
no,
that.
it's
When we were talking to Colin, he really had that customer empathy, and
right.
that customer empathy really allowed us to keep iterating on the product and keep getting feedback, and to keep improving, right? So I
Right.
think the team is important, but
Right.
don't underestimate the amount of effort that you're going to have to put to be
Right.
able to sell, that minimum product to the
Right.
market.
Right. So speaking of team, what was that early conversation like with like your first team member or your first employee? Like, how did you convince them, hey, this is the next thing we're building here. This is gonna be massive, right? What was that conversation like?
That was an exciting time as well. So really, the way that it worked is we had Colin and we had Matty. Those were the first
Right.
two employees, right? So Matty, right off the bat, because he was doing his PhD and because he could see where is this energy transition going, right? So
Right.
he was already doing his PhD in power systems,
Hmm.
and I think his master's thesis was in battery system optimization. So this
Right.
was 10 years ago, right? Now when you talk about battery systems, all these large facilities, malls, manufacturing facilities, those Tesla power packs and those
Right. Right.
the Tesla batteries are getting installed all over the place, right? But back then, it was kind of something that was up and coming, and it was very new and very fresh. But because he was doing his PhD, Matthew had an understanding. This is where the electricity grid is headed, right? The
Right.
electricity grid is headed towards, using more and more software,
Mhm.
data optimizations. We're going to need IoT solutions. We're going
Right.
to need really software. That concept of software is eating the world. Back then, software hadn't really started eating the energy infrastructure,
Right.
but he could see where things were headed. So for Mehdi, it was not that difficult to convince him. We were
Right.
already on the same page.
Right.
What brought Colin to the table was he was super excited to see this technology really impact customers. So as I
Right.
mentioned, Colin has that customer empathy, right? He's our VP of sales, but he's always sitting in the customer's shoes. Even when we have
Hmm.
brainstorming sessions and meetings,
Right.
internal meetings, he's always speaking on behalf of the customer. What's the customer
Right.
going to think? How are they going to approach this? Does it really solve their problem? He's always
Hmm.
thinking on behalf of the customer. And I think what really got his interest is, he came, he understood the product, he started going to market, and he started presenting these solutions. And
Hmm.
when he could see that customers were resonating with the ideology that we had and sort of
Right.
where the picture that we were creating for them of where this is going to go,
Hmm.
I think that's what really got him excited. And
Right.
he could see the potential, right? And you can't forget that for us, it's a little bit easier, I think, to convince employees and to convince team members to come and join us, is because we really, from the beginning, we've been purpose driven, right? Like
Right.
we
Right.
use energy management as an approach to
Hmm.
bring sustainability and to
Right.
bring
Right.
this energy transition to more large industrial customers. So
Hmm.
it's really having a positive impact on the world. And I think that gives us a huge benefit right off the bat when it comes to getting new team members and to getting people excited about it, right? Because
Right. Right.
we all know, like, the way that we're consuming energy and the way that we're living our lives has to change. So being at the forefront of that, with the software, with the data, I think it's a naturally exciting industry, right? And we're
Right.
we're lucky that that's the industry that we're in, and
Right.
that's where we get to play every day.
Right. Well, I mean, also talk about traction, right? Your traction greatly helps too. So maybe talk about how the growth has been, like any kind of updates you can share with our audience.
Absolutely. So basically, we've been doubling every year in terms of customer base since our inception, right? Which is it's been a good growth trajectory.
Hmm.
Right now, we're at over 74 facilities that we manage in Ontario, and
Hmm.
these are large enterprises, right? So
Right,
think
right.
huge malls, huge manufacturing plants. We have
Hmm.
some gold mines, actually literal gold mines
Oh my goodness.
in northern
Right,
Ontario,
right, right.
using our platform.
Hmm.
And really the traction has just been tremendous, right?
Right.
So if you go on our website, you can see the types of clients that we're working with. But
Hmm.
the fact that these large enterprises are willing to trust us with one of the most important parts of their business, right, which is
Right.
their energy spend and their energy consumption.
Hmm.
It speaks volumes to what our product team has been able to put together,
Hmm.
and to our sales team's ability to really quantify and present that value proposition.
Right, right.
And I mean, it's been super exciting. If you told me 4 years ago that we're
Hmm.
gonna have one of Canada's biggest banks using us, I would think you're out to lunch, right? So
Right,
it
right.
really it's fun to look back and
Right.
think of like how far we've come, right?
Right, right. That's incredible. So speaking of team, what do you look for in your new team members down the road?
I think you cut out for a second there, but I think
Oh,
your
okay.
question
Yeah, no
was.
worries. No worries. So yeah, so I mentioned about team members, right? Any traits you look for in your new team members
um
as you grow and build your team? Any traits, any specific whether it's a soft skill or technical skills?
So I think for us, really the way that we approach the company is we approach it like a soccer team, right?
Right.
That's the way that I always thought about it,
Love it.
and
Love it.
I think fit is important, right? So you could be someone with the best skills in the world, and you could be someone who has the best resume in the world, but if you're not a fit within the team,
Right.
and you don't want to accept the culture, and you don't want to expect our approach to things, because we really
Mhm.
do have a different approach
Right,
to
right.
how we deal with customers, how we deal with our
Mhm.
clients, how we improve every day, right? So fit is really important. The other part of it is passion, right? And right now we're actually interviewing for a head of marketing position, right?
Right, right.
And some of the people that I talked to right off the bat, you could just see that they're so passionate about
Right.
clean tech, and they're so passionate about this energy transition that we
Mhm.
that we've embarked on. And that passion really, I think, if you're passionate enough about it, you can work
Mhm.
through anything, right?
Right.
We know, right? Firsthand,
Right.
being in a startup,
Absolutely.
it's a challenge, right? There's
Right.
days where really you're just, things aren't going the right way.
Right.
Every day you have new problems, especially when you grow, right? There's new problems every day. So what's going to give you that energy, and what's going to give you that push to kind of keep
Right.
going and not give up? It's that passion, right? So
Exactly.
skills can be learned. Fit, you can still kind of, you can mold and you can change yourself
Right.
over time,
Right.
right? So that can kind of change. But passion, you have to have that passion for
Right.
the overall industry that we're in.
Right.
And I think, again, if you see the value of this energy transition, and you see the
Right.
value of making businesses more sustainable,
Mhm.
that's what we look for, right? If you're
Right.
passionate, I think you
Right.
can do anything.
Right. That's great. So so what's next? Any partnerships? Any kind of product updates? What's the next exciting thing you're working on and can share?
There's a lot that we're working on. So the first thing is we're doing a major pivot towards the sustainability side of things, as opposed
Mhm.
to as opposed to the energy side of things, right?
Right.
So energy and sustainability go hand in hand. If you're saving energy, you're reducing your emissions, right?
Mhm.
That's a given. But in the past, we were energy. I think I lost you, Eric. I lost you
Yes.
for a
Yes.
second.
I'm back. I'm
You
back.
back? Okay. Okay, good. So we were focused more on the energy side of things, and we were quantifying things more on in terms of cost savings and energy reductions.
Mhm.
But now what we're seeing is that because energy and sustainability go hand in hand, anything that you're doing on energy, you're actually creating emission reduction. So we're
Right.
pivoting the product more towards really sustainability and calculating sustainability baselines and those kinds of things. So
Amazing.
that's one update. The other side of it is we're also expanding. So we just this is not finalized yet, but we're expanding into other parts of Canada
Amazing.
this year. And finally, there's a couple of big partnerships that are in the works we haven't inked those deals yet, so I can't
Right.
make it public, but
Exactly.
it's going to be very exciting. We're working with a very, very large partner that's going to help us get into more jurisdictions and more locations throughout North America.
Amazing. So I always ask the founders that come on our video chats, what's one piece of advice you have for founders that are starting out? Could be anything.
So one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was this quote, basically, and I don't know who said the quote, but it's always stuck with me. It's what got you here won't get you there, right? And it's one of the most important things, because as a founder, you get to this point where, you receive, you get to a certain point of success,
Right.
and it's great and you're happy and you've gotten traction, you've reached product market fit,
Right.
maybe you've got some funding, maybe you have some customers now. So you're always thinking, okay, well, now I'm here. Now, how do I get to the next step, right? Because there's always that next step in the journey. But the reality is, you as a founder need to continuously put on different hats and continuously literally change where you operate in the business to be able to keep that growth trajectory and to be able to grow the company to the point that it needs to go. So what got you here won't get you there. What got you to product market fit is not going to be what gets you to the next round of your Series A.
Right.
What gets you to your Series A is not going to be what gets you to your IPO. What created your success in building that core team of 4 or 5 people is not going to be the same thing that gets you to that team of 50, right? So
Right.
as a founder, you're continuously going to have to wear different hats, and self-awareness is critical, right? Understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, and really, are you the right person to get you to that next there?
Right.
And who would be the right person to come? So how should the team look to get you there? So what got you here won't get you there. And you have to continuously be willing to change and grow. And if you're willing to grow and you're willing to change and you're willing to wear different hats,
Right.
every step will be exciting, and you'll continue to grow.
Right. That's definitely, I think that's definitely great for founders to know, right? How to go from product market fit to scale. It's a different ball game, right? So that's great. So for our audience that'd like to learn more about about what you do, where can they go?
So you can check us out at edgecomenergy.ca. And again, our product and our mission is to accelerate the sustainable use of energy, right? So these large enterprises, they need a lot of help, and there's a lot of opportunity still ahead of us, right? So this energy transition is just getting started.
Right.
And I really believe that scalable software solutions are going to be the right approach to help these customers make sure that they manage that transition well. They're at the forefront of sustainability, and they're at the forefront of all these potential changes, whether it's adding battery systems to their facilities, or adding IoT metering solutions to their facilities, or using our software to track their emissions. Those are all the things that we deliver to these clients, and we make it easy to see energy, because you can't see energy, right?
Right.
So seeing it is the first step. So we help you see it. And what we do is we help them understand, improve, and control their energy and their sustainability efforts. And really, we're excited. And again, we're at the beginning of this energy transition. We got a long way to go to get to net zero. And I'm really excited to work every day to make that happen.
Awesome. Well, Behdad, thank you so much for taking the time to come out today and chat with us and our community. So thanks again. We're looking forward to your development, and can't wait to see the next chapter.
Thank you, Eric. It was a lot of fun chatting with you.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Take care.